Hi and welcome to the Fan Reaction Show. Manchester United have just drawn 1-1 with Arsenal. It wasn't necessarily the performance or the result that we were hoping for completely. I think Man United started very aggressively and were much more like the Man United that we'd seen, who had got those fantastic wins against the likes of Liverpool and City, and even that draw against Chelsea in a few weeks ago. But it was just a bit frustrating that we never really snatched the result. We never really took what was there in front of us. We let the result slip, and so it looks almost certain now that Manchester United are going to have to stick with fourth, which has usually been an Arsenal trophy, but now it's in the hands of Man United this year. So joining me today, we've got Joey and Dan, and we've got Huzzy on the way. But starting things off, Dan, what did you make of the game?
Well, I thought the first half wasn't too bad. We played quite decent stuff, but we only got the one goal, and I thought if we could have got that second goal, I think we would have put the game to bed. I didn't think really Arsenal were that great today, to be honest. But second half they did grow into the game more, and they had some more better chances and a lot more possession in our half. They had some more corners and it seemed that they were the more likely to get a goal. And I thought towards the end we were going to hang on, and then it was a shame when David De Gea had to go off, and I don't know if I think that was a bit of a mistake by the goalkeeper, which caused them to score. So it's disappointing. I was hoping we could just hang on to 1-0, but it wasn't to be, and probably maybe just a fair result in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I was personally quite impressed with Falcao. It's a shame that it almost looks certain that he's going to be leaving that wave. I think it was obvious what that wave means. It wasn't just, "Oh, see you next year." That's bye, I'm going. Interesting to see that David De Gea didn't wave. Joey, did you pick up on anything as regards De Gea not waving to the crowd, or?
Well, he just kind of did a little half-ass clap as he went off. I think it's obvious now. I mean, if he was going to stay, he could have, did a little interview here or there. The guy's Spanish. His girlfriend lives there. Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in the world after us. But yeah, I think it's safe to say he's off, especially with Van Gaal in his press conference saying we've drawn up a list of targets. It's not about money. I wish it was. I wish it was about money because we could just offer him more. It's not like we don't have a shit ton of money. So I'll be sad to see him go. Pretty much he rescued us so many times this season. He was worth, I don't know, 20, 25 points alone with his saves. I mean, against Crystal Palace and Everton. And you just think of all these great games and great saves he's had. I'll miss him, but we have to move on because no player is bigger than the club.
No, I agree, and we've certainly lost better players in the past, and we've gained even better players as well. So I don't think it's the end of the world. It's difficult, it's annoying, but obviously when you look back and when we lost Van der Sar, it was a similar sort of position, and we were thinking, oh my God, how are we going to replace him? And there was the same sort of nervousness of another keeper in the goal when De Gea was in the early days. And I saw some people tweeting out saying, oh, not seeing De Gea in goals making me nervous, and it made me smile a bit because it made me think, well, back in 2011, people were shitting it because we had De Gea in goal, and so just the fact that it's come full circle and De Gea not being in our goal has made people nervous. I think we'll definitely find a good replacement. But Joey, just overall, what did you make of the game? Was there anything you picked up on specifically that you were happy with or not happy with?
I'm happy that we got another goal from midfield. I think that's something we've added this year. In recent years, we've had to rely on our strikers scoring almost all the goals. After Scholes and Ronaldo and other wingers have left, and other players. So I'm glad that we've added, Herrera, Mata, Fellaini's added some goals. Ashley Young today was absolutely brilliant. He got stuck in. He was putting in tackles. His goal, his cross was great on his left foot. 7 out of 10 times we know he wants to cut back and cross on his right, and he took Bellerin down the line and put it in with his left. Fantastic goal. Good job by Juan Mata for bringing Monreal in, making an unselfish run. But I thought that was Arsenal's best starting 11, I believe, and I'm not impressed by them. I think, after this summer window, we'll be miles ahead of them in terms of talent because, that was their best starting 11, like I said, and I thought they didn't have a shot on target. We completely bossed them the first half. So it's difficult that we didn't, come out in the second half and do the same thing. I thought once Coquelin went back to right back, maybe bring Di Maria on to run at him. I thought that would have been good, but with injuries and I want to talk about the Rojo thing coming off. He's just coming back from injury. Van Gaal isn't going to play him the whole game. I mean, that's obvious, but we needed him there for most of it. So you can't really, you can question substitution, but if you don't know all the information, why say Van Gaal has cost us the game by doing that? What do you want Blackett to do there? Do you want him to not put a tackle in and let Theo get a clean cross across? So it was unfortunate. It was either let the ball go through and one of the other players hits it, but I thought Valdez could have did better on that. He hasn't played in over a year, but overall I'm happy because I thought we played the better of the football. I thought they were very lucky to get a goal and didn't deserve it.
Yeah, some very good points there. I'll just go over to the chat box, see what some people are saying. We've got William Von Hagen saying Fellaini needs to leave, not United quality. I didn't think he was that bad today. Lewis has said it'll be interesting to hear what the guys have got to say. We've got some people saying, why did De Gea go off? He went off because he picked up an injury. I've got my suspicions that he wasn't necessarily injured and that there might have been some plans behind that, because it seems so out of character to have him consistently the goalkeeper week in, week out, all season long, no real major injury concerns ever, even in his full history of Man United, and then to all of a sudden in his what is believed to be his last game at Old Trafford to pick up an injury, and then Valdez comes on. It didn't really sit right with me. I think there was something going on. But I'll move over to Huzzy now, and mate, what did you make of the game?
I was happy with the overall performance. We absolutely bossed the first half. They had no shots on target. Jones and Rojo were quite good in the first half, but I'm just really disappointed. I thought we could get the 3 points there and push for third, but now we'll have to settle for fourth and maybe not even qualify for the Champions League. But we definitely deserved more. It was a great defensive display. Mata and Herrera, amazing once again. Yeah, great performance. Just not the right result.
No, I agree, and I'm just going to open this out to whoever wants to answer it, but out of the likes of Mata and Herrera and people like that, which players have been really impressing, like have impressed you the most so far in the back end of this season to gain a starting place for next season, who, even if it was a player who you might have not expected to, had I asked you this at the start of the season?
I think Chris Smalling has played really well. He was wearing the captain's armband today. I think he's come on leaps and bounds ever since that red card against City. He's growing into a leadership role too, which is what we've been asking for out of the back four. And I want to give an honorable mention to Phil Jones because he stuck his head in there today and saved almost a certain goal from Giroud. But Ander Herrera has been absolutely fantastic all season. I think he put in 12 attempted tackles today. 6 of them were successful. Ashley Young, definitely comeback player of the year, if not Fellaini. So I think both of them. I don't really, people can say Fellaini needs to leave. I don't understand that comment really because I thought he didn't really do too bad today, or he didn't do anything stand out. But he's not going to score every single game. He did his job. He brought the ball down. RVP should have scored that ball that was headed down by Fellaini. So I think Fellaini does have a role in this squad. Can you imagine, if you get into the knockout stages and you're playing against a Barcelona or Real Madrid, they're not going to want to come up and mark Fellaini. He still has a role to play at this team. I don't want to see him starting every game either, but I think he has a role to play.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Dan, has anyone specifically impressed you at all?
Ashley Young's impressed me lately. I think his performance again today was decent. I mean, he has come under some stick in the past for his performances, but especially last season, I mean, nearly every player, apart from maybe De Gea and possibly even Rooney, played all right last season. But apart from that, everyone was woeful last season, so you can't really go on that. But I think he has done quite well. I don't know if he'll still be an automatic starter next season. Probably not, with Memphis Depay coming in, and probably someone else will probably come in as well, whether it's Gareth Bale or whoever. But I don't probably see Ashley Young starting every week next season, but I think he's a decent player to have in the squad. I mean, he doesn't score bags of goals, but he's still a real decent player to have in the squad. And with the FA Cup, hopefully we get into the last stages of that again, and hopefully with the League Cup and the Champions League group stage, hopefully with a stronger squad, I believe that we can move forward, because I feel that's where we've really lacked this season, where we've not been able. I mean, if a player like that's injured, we've got no one to. I mean, I don't know what's up with Di Maria. He doesn't seem to want to pick Di Maria. But I feel that if we could bring another couple of 2 or 3 world-class players in, it would help. Especially like with when Carrick's injured, there's just no one to bring in to as even a decent replacement at all, really. So if we could get another 1 or 2 players, and I think that Ashley Young really does have at least a squad role to play. And as with Fellaini, as Joey was saying, I think that he's done a real decent job this season, and I think that we could do with him. Even if he only plays sort of 20, 25 games of the season next season, I still think that he'd be a valuable asset. Before, I did think he probably should go, but I don't think he's an automatic starter, not at all.
No, I agree, and it is all about strength and depth, isn't it? Because I think people forget that when you're in the Champions League, when you're in all these different competitions, you do need to have probably 2 or even in some cases 3 players for each position who are going to be capable of just coming in when they need to. Not necessarily start week in, week out, but if you need to freshen it up, if you need to change the style of you play, and Van Gaal's shown it, he's a tactician, he likes to have his different setups, he likes to have different mentalities for different games, and arguably, I think we can do with a player like Fellaini, we can do with a player like Young. Yeah, they're not going to start in, week out, but they're going to do well being in the squad, and they are going to bring something to the team. And I also agree that your point there about bringing in people to help with Michael Carrick, because obviously he is a big player in terms of our midfield, but he isn't going to be the same player for much longer. He's getting on, and his legs are going to start going eventually, and we need to start getting players who can come in and eventually replace him and help him. But also, Dan, I'll ask you this question as well. Joey touched on it before, but do you think that the subs disrupted the rhythm of the game? Because I think I noticed as soon as Falcao had gone off that we didn't have the ball up in the final third an awful lot. And as well, with Rojo coming off, I agree with Joey that you can't just look at it so one way that Van Gaal has taken him off, always cost us the game. Well, he's only coming back from injury, and yes, it probably would have been better to have kept him on in terms of his performance in the game, but you don't know if he'd had a knock, you don't know if he was just about to fall over with an injury, you don't really know what was going on. So what did you make of the substitutions, and were you critical of them?
No, I'm not too critical of them, because I mean, Falcao did all right. He probably had one of his better games in a while, but I think even though he played better today, I still don't think it was great at all. So I wasn't surprised to see Van Persie come on at all. And with the other 2 substitutions, I presume that David Hare was too badly hurt to continue, because I don't think that Van Gaal would have made him come off with only, what was it, about 12, 13 minutes to go of the game if he could have carried on, because I think that's where it really did disrupt the game. I think Victor Valdés went to ground way too easy on that one. I know he hasn't played a lot of football for a long while, but still, I think he should have done better there. I mean, obviously bringing Blackett on as well was a gamble, but he hasn't really got a lot of options, because we've had a lot of defenders injured. I mean, Luke Shaw's been injured nearly all season, which has been a massive blow. Then you got, I don't know what's up with Johnny Evans, but Johnny Evans has been absolutely woeful anyway, and he needs to be shown the door. So we definitely do need to strengthen that defence to bring in at least 2, I think probably 2 centre halves, and then hopefully the problems at the back will go away, because the defending just isn't up to scratch still. And David De Gea has papered over so many cracks this season with that defence. So I mean, you can blame Tyler Blackett a bit, but he's only just come on the pitch. I mean, it was unlucky that we had to change a player like that, because normally you wouldn't want to have to change your left back, but unfortunately Rojo can't play the full game. And see, normally Daley Blind would have probably, if Michael Carrick had been fully fit, Daley Blind would have played that position, and the problem wouldn't have happened, because he'd have stayed on the pitch the whole game. So I don't really blame Van Gaal for that. I think it's a problem of the injuries and the lack of real quality and depth myself.
Yeah, let's just cut back across the chat box. We've got, I apologise if I get this wrong, I'm rubbish at pronouncing names or whatever, but at Scarlo on Twitter said, sure, the substitution robbed us of the 3 points. Poor substitution from LVG, which is fair enough. I can understand the argument that people have against it. Personally, I think you can't hold it too much against him. I think there were substitutions he needed to make. I know I did say what I said about the David De Gea, but you're right in saying in all honesty, he wouldn't have done that just for the sake of making him say goodbye or whatever. So we've got Rashab Gurj on YouTube saying Falcao shouldn't have been subbed. If LVG wanted to give him game time instead of Van Persie, he would have started him next week, which is a valid point. And yeah, and just people saying that they saw him waving as he come off, so it looks like he's going. How are you feeling, Huzzy, about Falcao leaving? Are you happy about that we're going to be getting in another striker, or would you have liked to have seen him given more of a chance?
I'm not too happy about Falcao leaving. I understand why people would disagree with me, but I want to see his loan extended to at least January. I think he hasn't had a great season for us, but he's just come back from an injury that could have ended his career, and he's lucky to still be playing. And he doesn't get the goals, but he makes clever movements, and you can see that sometimes he drags defenders away, and he does a lot for the team. And main thing is he tries his best. I'd like to see him stay even as a second striker, but if he leaves, then it means we get someone who can produce the goals and do more for us. Then it would just have to be like that. But I would have liked him to stay.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a divide amongst United fans. I think there's a lot of people who think, well, he had his chances, he didn't take them. It was maybe just not the right time for him to be joining Manchester United. And then there's others who are like yourself who feel that he should be given more time, he should be given longer. I personally wouldn't have gone for. I wouldn't have necessarily have bought him because I don't think he's worth £40 million. Would the price tag have been reduced? Who knows? You don't know how greedy Monaco are. I think we're likely to see him go join another big club in Europe, and he probably will do well. I mean, that's the sod's law. But if he does well, then it's not an awful lot that we can do about it. Guys, the big question that's hanging over us all is that David De Gea looks like he's off. Should we be concerned? I know we've touched on it just at the start of the show, but should we be concerned that De Gea is off, or should we be looking optimistic that we can getting another goalkeeper who can grow into the role?
Well, I think if De Gea is off and the rumors of the transfer ban are true, and that after this window they're going to be banned for 2 windows, we kind of got Real Madrid by the balls. I've been saying it on previous shows, and when we've done transfer speculation and things like that, we don't need the money for him. We need the players. So if we were to get a Gareth Bale, I would love a Luka Modric or a Toni Kroos or even Benzema. I would take. You got to take one of their players. You can't just ask for the cash. I'm sad to see De Gea go, but there's keepers out there we can get. I know people don't want to do business with Levy because he's a prick, but you got Hugo Lloris with the rumor of if a Champions League club comes in that he has a buyout clause. There's Leno from, I think it's Leverkusen, and there's other keepers out there. And let's be honest, we're going to strengthen the back four next season. So we're not going to, hopefully, not going to have to rely on a keeper, but as much. I mean, when we were dominating games, against Liverpool and Spurs and City and like that, De Gea did come up with some great saves. But I'm expecting more possession next season. I'm expecting to keep the ball more. So I don't think a keeper is going to be as high up as on our needs. I think we've fallen in love with David De Gea over the last 2 years because he's been our best player. He's got that crazy hairstyle, and he's flying through the air. And he's, dude, I'm going to be sad to see him go. Trust me. But I don't think we can dwell on it too long. I think we, as fans, it's the same thing with Falcao. We all love the Falcao that banged in, all those goals for Porto and Atletico Madrid, and he's just not that Falcao anymore. I mean, and today, I want to say this real quick. Based off of today, I would rather keep Falcao than Van Persie because I thought Falcao was miles better than Van Persie when he came on. But even Falcao today, you could see his fitness is just not there. So maybe a full preseason, whatever. But on David De Gea, yeah, we got to get somebody in. And I would like to see them get in someone quick. If this whole, I don't want to see a summer saga. I want to get this done. If De Gea is leaving, give us Bale, and we'll give you a little bit of money, or, got to take one of their players.
No, I agree. I'd much prefer it if we can just get business done as quickly as possible. If anybody is desperately wanting to leave, such as De Gea, let them go as soon as possible, just so you don't have this speculation from the newspapers, because they'll feed off it like vampires. But I think we've got a good opportunity to build a really strong team in the print of Van Gaal, exactly how he wants it to be, and hopefully we can challenge next year. Just as a slight different question that I wasn't really having written down to ask, but Dan, do you seriously think that with the transfers that we'll be getting in next year that we'll be obvious contenders for the league, or do you think we're just maybe jumping the gun a bit?
Well, I think we should be looking really to challenge for the Premier League title next season. I mean, saying that we can definitely win it, I think it's a bit too much at this early stage, because obviously we don't know the actual transfers that are definitely coming in. I mean, at the moment a lot of them are still speculation. I mean, we've definitely got Memphis Depay, which looks a decent signing on paper, but obviously we're going to have to give him time to adapt to the Premier League. He's still young, so it might take him a few months to get used to the English game. So I don't know how it's going to go straight away for him, but we still need at least, I think, 3 or 4 quality players to come into the team. And I don't know, if you're changing the team, if you bring that amount of quality players in, it can take a bit of time to get used to the team and that again. So it may come a season too early to say we can actually win the title. I mean, if we actually challenge for it, I would be happy with that. And a decent cup run, I would be definitely happy with that. I mean, as fans, we shouldn't really be demanding that we will win the league every year. I mean, I know teams like Real Madrid and Barcelona expect to win stuff every season, but I mean, in the Ferguson days, obviously we did keep winning because he was such a fantastic manager. But obviously it's hard. I mean, you look at Chelsea. I think they've spent about £1 billion in the last 5 or 6 years just to win the title back. It's not easy to win this Premier League title. It's very competitive. A lot of teams are spending a lot of money. I mean, Manchester City are going to go out and spend a huge amount of money. Arsenal are going to improve their team. You've still got other strong teams like Tottenham that can cause teams problems. So it's going to be difficult again next season. I mean, but if we can at least challenge for the title and get a lot closer, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, and I think as well, as you were pointing out there, you've got our opposition who've spent a lot of money over the years, but I think in the next few years it's going to be very likely that we're going to catch up with them. Now, whether you've got a problem with that or not, I'm not really that fussed, but I think sadly that is what football is now, and I think we're going to be spending the big money to get in the players to which we've not really been used to. We've been more about building up players and everything. But there's been a question in the comments box, and so Huzzy, I'll send this to you, but Bob has asked, with the possibility of Falcao and/or Van Persie leaving, who should United go after?
It seems very unlikely, but I'd love to see Thomas Muller come in. He can play up front, and he can play in a midfield three behind the strikers. And as Lee Van Gaal looks to play 4-3-3, he'd be suited to that formation. Other strikers I'd like to see, I've heard rumours about Edison Cavani, but I'm not too fond of him. When I watch Champions League and watch PSG, I don't see Edison Cavani doing much. I mean, he is a good striker, but it's another risk, and we can't afford to take risks right now because we took a risk with Falcao and we saw how that turned out. So Thomas Muller would be one, and I'm not too sure. Maybe Christian Benteke. This is just a wild guess, but I think Christian Benteke maybe, or even Harry Kane, but no way for 45 million. I've heard those rumours. I wouldn't pay more than 25 mil for Harry Kane.
Yeah, I think 45 million is a lot, but you've got to remember who his chairman is, and I think in reality, if we were to go for him, it would be around that price because Daniel Levy only does stuff for a lot of money. So, unfortunately, if that's what we want, sorry.
Yeah. Well, Memphis Depay is quite a versatile player. He can play up front as well, but obviously we're not going to rely on him there because he's best on the wings. But if we do a deal with Real Madrid, then maybe we can try and get Karim Benzema. I think he would do good in the Premier League. But yeah, striker isn't our main priority. We've got a world-class striker in Wayne Rooney. We've got James Wilson in the under-21s. We've got Javier Hernandez possibly coming back. So that wouldn't be my main priority, but I've said the players I'd like to see in coming. I think Muller would be top of my list.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see us build from the back first before we go
Yeah.
out and buy strikers, because I think in the last couple of windows, the big argument that people have had is that we haven't really given the defence the attention that it deserves, and there's quite a few people in the comments actually saying that United need defence and we need to look at the defence to strengthen that. And Joe, if I just put this situation to you, if Manchester United don't manage to sign someone like Hummels, who would you be happy with of our defenders at the moment to start week in, week out?
Sorry. I'm hearing a lot about Otamendi from the La Liga, from Valencia. But, I think, like you were saying, we need two. Yeah, I think Otamendi. I wouldn't mind Vertonghen. He's got Premier League experience. Um, he might be available for a Champions League club, like I was saying. But I don't know if we'll buy a left-footed. I think we should buy a right and left-footed. And I would love Laporta from Athletic Bilbao. I think he's going to be a superstar. And going back to that, even with the De Gea thing, if we don't get Hummels, you could maybe get Varane in a bargain or in a deal with Real Madrid with De Gea involved. Because Varane, France has some terrific young defenders other than Mangala coming up. So I would go after Laporta, maybe Otamendi, Varane. But I would like to see Chris Smalling given a chance too, because I think he's done really well. I don't think he should lose his spot automatically. But I'm sure people will disagree with me on that.
Well, it's funny you say Smalling, because earlier on in the season, especially when he got sent off against City, I was a big critic of him, and I didn't really want him anywhere near the team. And then obviously you get Calamity Jones week in, week out, and then Evans did all the stuff that he did, and then you see how Smalling actually came back into it. And since that sending off, he's actually been one of the more consistent players. Yeah, he's had his moments, but I'd like to see Smalling given a chance, and I thought he played quite well today. I think Rojo's got the chance to grow into the role as well. But I would like to see a strengthening in that area. I'd like to see more experience come in, and I think it's a bit harsh for people. I know I put out hashtag Victor doesn't save just in sort of a Mickey take out the Dave saves hashtag, but it's a bit harsh of some of the people like really criticising Victor Valdez, because it's his first proper game. He's coming on for Man United in a game which he's not really given a moment to sort of settle into it, and it was a cheap deflection. And yeah, you can say De Gea would have saved it, but then you think, well, there's the free kicks we conceded the other week, which you would have thought De Gea would have saved, but didn't, because it just cut him off because it was deflection. So I think people being too critical of Valdez are a bit harsh. Do you think that Valdez has come to us because he was told that he was going to be the number one next season? It seems odd that he'd have joined us just to have been happy to be the substitute. I think it was kind of obvious that he'd been told something when he joined us. Do you think it's very likely that he is our number one, and in fact the goalkeeper we'll be buying in the summer will be the new backup, so a younger goalkeeper to build his way up? Sorry, that was for Dan, sorry.
All right. Well, I think that he's probably going to get another goalkeeper in, personally. I mean, he's been saying these last few days that they've got goalkeepers in mind if David De Gea does leave. I mean, Victor Valdez is a decent keeper, but he was playing for probably the best team over the last 7 or 8 years. I mean, some of the possession that Barcelona have had in games has been absolutely phenomenal over them periods of time. So obviously, goalkeeping hasn't been needed as much for Barcelona. So, I mean, he's always been understudy for the Spanish national team as well. And because he's getting to these last years, I mean, maybe he was told that he was going to come in and get a lot of game time. I'm not too sure. But personally, I think we'll probably go and get another top-class goalkeeper, because I think it is a real important position to have in your team. As we've seen with a lot of top teams like Arsenal and that over the years, when they haven't had a top-class goalkeeper, it has cost them points. I mean, these world-class goalkeepers will save you a lot of points over the season. They make world-class saves. I've seen today Joe Hart having a fantastic game against Swansea, which has practically won them the game, because Swansea's goalkeepers had a terrible match and let in two soft goals from Torres. So I think he's won them the match today, and I think it really does over the season. You've really got to have one of the best goalkeepers in the Barclays Premier League these days to actually win the Premier League. And I think if we could go out and get a Lloris or someone of that calibre, then it won't replace David De Gea, because he's probably the second best, or maybe even the best goalkeeper in the world at this present moment. But if we can improve our defence as well, it will probably go some way to helping ease the pain of losing him. But I mean, Victor Valdez probably will still get some game time next season with the League Cup and that. Hopefully we will get further in that cup, so hopefully we'll get some game time in that, and he'll probably get some game time in the FA Cup as well, because I think this season he was a bit cautious to play him in that, because he did say that he'd been out for a long while and he needed some game time in the under 21 games first to get him up to speed with the game, because he'd had a really bad injury. So I think we will see him a lot more next season, even if we do sign a top class goalkeeper, because there will be some, hopefully at least 50 to 60 matches next season if we're successful.
Yeah, some very good points there as well. And just to cap things off, I think we've got Lewis has just come in and raised a very good point, and I think it's a good point to end on. Remember, our under-21s just won their division, though, so it's not like all of them will be future Man United players, but there's a potential that a few more people could be brought into the team. And I agree, I think it's very likely that Van Gaal will be looking to bring in more youth players. He's always done it throughout his career. He's done it in this year specifically. He's brought in a lot of youngsters who people weren't necessarily expecting him to do, especially when we were buying all the players in the summer. So I think there is a good opportunity for some of these young lads to be given more game time. You think of the likes of Pereira and people that I won't even be able to think of off the top of my head right now. But we're going to finish this off now because, of course, the United View is going to be doing their show at 10 o'clock, so you'll be able to go check them out and see all the points that are raised and discussed in more detail. But this has been the live reaction, and I know it kind of feels like a defeat, but let's remember that we haven't lost. Man United are in the top 4. It's nailed on that we're going to be in the Champions League next year, and we do have to have a qualifier, but we're Man United, so we'll get through. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Come on, United!